Welcome back. This is Meet the Ministers. My name is Shaun Bindley and my guest on the program this evening is Andrew Bartlett. Andrew's standing for the position of Lord Mayor in the upcoming council elections here in Brisbane, looking wonderful in the Cape. Tell me about Caperil, Andrew.
Caperil is a bit like Movember. It's month of April, encouraging people to wear a cape when they do things to draw awareness about depression and to help raise funds for Beyond Blue, which is a major depression awareness raising research institute in Australia. A bit of a history, originally set up as a bit of a joke, but one of the people involved in it through radio suffered from depression himself and sadly took his own life. So people behind it thought, well, you know, a bit of a tribute and awareness raising to encourage people as another way of, I think there's more awareness about depression these days, but I still think, you know, every opportunity for people to focus on it a bit, to talk about it a bit in a slightly less intense way, something that sort of take a chance and, you know, don't get every chance to, you know, break out the cape and play out my goth fantasies occasionally. So, you know,
it's a kind of a nice Twilight kind of tie-in. I mean, you've encountered depression. I've had experience with my own family and myself. Are people's attitudes changing towards it? Do you think these days? I guess people are probably less judgmental when they. Yeah,
they are.
Depression.
And look, and it's one. You know, I actually don't like talking about myself terribly much. It's a bit strange for a politician. But in terms of personal stuff, and I also, and it's not sort of sense of, you know, something to be ashamed of, but it's always like, well, once you're sort of labelled and you get stuck in that box and you go, no, yeah, that's the depression guy, you know. And it's still, you know, occasionally like Andrew Robb a few years ago when he came out and talked about depression, I get these media calls going, oh, you know, you're the depression guy, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, in that sense, but in another sense, I want to actually talk about it because not just in terms of awareness raising about, you know, this is a difficult thing for people and you need to be aware of it and a bit more understanding of it, which is difficult because I think it's different for everybody. It's not one of those easy things like, you know, broken leg or whatever. But also, you know, because it is presented as this, you know, pretty dark, heavy thing, which it is, or certainly can be, but it's not the end of everything. You know, you can still function, and, you know, I guess, you know, I've lived with it in varying intensities, you know, for a long time, including through all my time in the Parliament, and, you know, you can still perform, and in some ways I think it actually, you know, as with many life experiences, can bring something extra to the things you do. So, well, whilst I don't, you know, not saying it's a good thing, I think it's also something where it's just part of people. It's not, you know, you're either in this box or you're out of this box, and it's not 100% like, you know, depression bad, got to be, you know, treated till you're fixed up and then being you're out of the box and, you know, bright and shiny new. So I guess it's sort of talking through some of the variabilities and complexities of it as well, beyond just the, you know, the significance of awareness raising, and we still got a lot, I think, to understand about it as well. So they have a chance to raise funds. So how do people go about getting involved with Caperil? Well, easiest, especially these days, you just Google it. They've got a Twitter feed. Caperil. It's caperil.net, I think, or caperil.org, it's one or the other. And you know, finds people that are, you know, raising funds, or, you know, through Beyond Blue themselves directly, of course. I mean, I hate to be flippant about it, but I've always had that impression that people suffering from depression, it's very hard for them to talk about it, and having it out there in the open and making it more of a giving people the realisation that it's a lot more common than we realise actually helps to destigmatise it and creates the ability for people to find help and find a voice as well as an ear when they really need it. Yeah, I think knowing you can find help, knowing to talk about it, and also knowing that, you know, even when you're living with it, obviously there's differing degrees of severity, but that you can still do stuff and, you know, have all of other facets to your life and your personality. Will you be wearing purple shirts if you become the Lord Mayor of Brisbane in a couple of weeks? I'd have to say it's not, you know, top of my policy priorities about, you know, what I do first up and decisions I have to make as Lord Mayor, but I guess I've been wearing them for, I really don't know how long, 20 years or more anyway, so it'd be a bit strange to stop because of that. All the focus has been on the Queensland election.
the local election's only a couple of weeks away. It's really going to start to ramp up. What's the key to you? We're just about out of time, but what's the key in these next coming weeks?
Well, the key is to make people aware it's happening and that it's important.
Yeah.
Brisbane's the biggest local authority in the country by a long shot, which means we can really lead the way in some key areas in moving to transitioning for clean energy and in really showing better ways of doing things with transport solutions. And most importantly to me and the Greens is just community involvement in their city and in their council. I think too many of the key decisions that shape our city's future now are made by vested interests and developers. The community doesn't get enough of a say, and that core issue pretty much affects everything, whether it's transport, whether it's waterways, whether it's where the footpaths, what happens in the local park, and even what the money's spent on, access to information, all of those things. It's about opening up the council for people and making it work better. And look, if I did get elected, it's a long shot, but I'm confident I could do the job. I've got plenty of experience working in balanced power situations in the Senate, working with people across political divides, and that's what I'd like to see more of in our council, is people working together rather than one mob saying, well, we won out of the way, come back in 4 years and complain then if you don't like it.
Do you have an idea, do you have a picture in your mind where you might be in 5-10 years' time, regardless of how this election goes?
No, I don't really. I'm not very good at that sort of thing. I just sort of focus on things where, trying to find areas that I feel useful in the immediate term and see where that leads.
Does useful lead to satisfaction?
Yes.
It does?
Yes, much more so than much else I could find. If I could find other ways to get to satisfaction, it would be less hard work. But, if I've had satisfaction lying on the couch all day, then I might do more of that. But maybe touching a little bit on what we were talking about just before, relating to the Cape and that, I guess finding something that makes me feel some extra meaning in life, and I feel like I'm doing something that's useful for people more widely than that. That gives me some extra motivation to keep pushing away.
Andrew Bartlett, I wish you well, and thank you for your time.
No worries.
My name is Shaun Bindley, and you've been watching Meet the Ministers. Look forward to joining you again next week.